I'm Carrie. I'm with a company called GWI. So we do consumer global market research on demand. And now, sir, it's like a lot of pressure putting makeup on when you're interviewing someone from BlueMercury.
Yeah.
I was like, do I do donut glaze? How do I contour? Like really a lot. So hopefully I did okay for you.
I think you did wonderful.
Thank
You be your authentic self, and you're doing great.
So you do have to tell us about your resume because, so he's been at Target, he's been at Hilton, he's been at NASA. So of course, like the first thing I was like, so you're gonna have to tell me how you get from NASA to Target. So tell us a little bit about your resume and frankly how it has informed you on this topic.
I'm a rocket scientist. Like, that's the answer, right? No, I'm not a rocket scientist. I started my career in software development, and so in technology. Somehow managed to land at NASA earlier in my career. And then I was always more motivated by how people use technology. And so I really decided, I'm like, I need to look for something different. And went to business school, decided marketing was where I wanted to go, and that helped lead me to Target. But there's two things I really got out of my NASA experience that I absolutely love. The first is, even though, as I mentioned, I did software development, I didn't do rocket science, I have seen rocket science, and I know nothing we do is rocket science. Like, as hard as it is, it's not rocket science. So I'm like, okay, we can work with that.
Perspective.
Yes. The second thing I learned that has always stuck with me is actually NASA is an amazing purpose-driven organization. What I was always so impressed with, and what partially brought me, is like people who work at NASA because they want to help humanity. Like, they want to discover what's out there. That's what motivates them. I mean, it's the government, so it's inefficient and stuff like that. But it's still something that always stuck with me as I continue with my career and think about the organizations I love to work for and what I like to do. Is I've always come back to, hey, there's always that purpose is always so motivating as to why we come to work every day.
So true. And so how about Target?
Yeah, I mean, so I wanted to get into marketing, and I wanted to go to the best brand marketing company that I could, and they're fantastic. So I joined Target, spent 11 years there, had a variety of roles. I started actually in technology, but then moved into consumer insights, did brand marketing for their own brands, did brand strategy, marketing planning, multicultural marketing, and a bunch of different things over that time.
Nice. And then what made you interested in this current job? Because then you went to Hilton, and then to makeup? How does that
So how
happen?
many people here know BlueMercury? Raise your hand. Okay, actually a decent amount. Like a lot of women, yeah. But that's okay. Even some men, that's okay. We welcome everyone. So I was at Hilton, and this opportunity came up that I saw, and first and foremost, to me, I'm like, it's retail, and I know retail. I've worked at Target, and I'm like, I know retail. But the second thing that really attracted me, it's like, as a marketer, and one of the things that I took from Target and working in insights is and we talked a little bit about this today, about empathy, right? If you're a good marketer, it doesn't matter what you're selling, right? You should just have empathy and understanding for your consumer and what they need and what they want. And so to me, I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's tires or if it's beauty. It's about learning the customer. So that didn't frighten me from moving over to BlueMercury at all. But what it actually, going back to purpose, what really excited me was with the stage of what I was coming into is BlueMercury, for those that don't know, is owned by Macy's. It's been owned by Macy's for about 7 years, but it was founder-led until about 2 years ago. And once that founder had left the company, a new leadership team was being formed, I being one of them, and it was, how do we, that transition from being founder-led, and then it's like, what's our future? What's our purpose? Why do we exist? And it was an opportunity to define it all, honestly, from scratch, and say, like, because a lot of times, I've seen this and heard this, like, a lot of founder-led organizations, the purpose is the founder's vision. It's just inherently there. But when you're moving and transitioning from founder-led to, being on your own, it's how do you crystallize why you exist as a company? And that's a really exciting opportunity that brought me here.
Yeah, you could create it. And so what, and then this is a little bit off topic, but what are some of the things you're using now to create that? So since you have this opportunity to really sort of figure it out with your team, and it's okay to say GWI.
No, I mean, we, not yet,
yeah.
Right? We'll talk about
After
that later. So to define purpose, for us, what we found is a lot was undefined. It was really in the founder's head, and it wasn't institutionalized. And so
Careful what you wish for.
So and there was a little bit. I mean, I'll be fully transparent. I mean, we're in a safe space, right? Like, go look at Glassdoor at BlueMercury reviews. They're atrocious. Like, literally. Like, I do that in every interview. I tell anybody in interview, I'm like, I did the same thing. I looked at Glassdoor reviews and I was like, what the F am I getting myself into? But you go back to like, hey, wait, no, we're gonna redefine all this. We're gonna change this story. And I think that's what, when we decided how to pursue that, it's okay, let's talk to our employees. Let's talk to our customer. Let's talk to our brand partners that sell at BlueMercury. And let's go find what it is. And we did research, we did primary research with all those groups. We listened a lot and learned. And then we started taking what we learned and trying to articulate, what does it mean? There's still goodness, no matter what happens with previous leadership or anything like that, there's still goodness in the idea of BlueMercury. And what we found was that our heritage was built on service. And it was service in your neighborhood. It was, how do you really, you could go to a department store and then you have, someone from a specific brand tell you what's right for you in that brand. You could go to a Sephora or Ulta. You're mostly on your own. The staff can help you, but they might not be the most informed. And we're like, our secret sauce is that we are beauty experts in our store, know the products. They're brand agnostic. They're willing to. They really want to listen and learn, and we are actually more satisfied if you just take a sample. We'll make you a sample of anything in our store, like even fragrance. You probably never thought about that. If you want to try a fragrance and get a little sample of it and actually drop it right from the original bottle, like, we'll do that. Now, those are all unique things about us, and when we found that, it was like, we're anchored in service, we're anchored in being in your neighborhood, and then what we've crafted is what is our purpose, is to be the ultimate specialist in the beauty of you. And what we mean by that is we want to be the ultimate top person that really sees you, understands you, and finds the right things for you. So
that's nice. It's also interesting because coming from the background that you do, which is highly technical, you use technology and data to basically inform something very human, very personal.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it took you to like, oh, this has to be a bespoke, service-oriented experience. And I think we're actually seeing a lot on our platform, people trying to figure out in this very like AI, robot-driven world, how do I not sound like I was written by ChatGPT? And so it is, a lot of companies are like, okay, how does technology serve what we're trying to do versus replace what we're trying to do? And so it's interesting because everyone's trying to figure it out, obviously. Okay, so let's talk about DEI and beauty in general. And in your opinion, why does it matter? Why do you guys even care?
So, what I think, what's happened over the last several years in beauty, and coinciding with all the stuff going on in society, is just a recognition of the individual. And even going back to what I talked about with our purpose, right? When we crafted it and said, to be the ultimate specialist in the beauty of you, it was purposeful, because the point is everybody is different, right? And you need to see each individual and for what they are. And what has happened in beauty is there's been a recognition that there is diversity in all consumers. And hey, if you create products for unique people's needs, unique skin tones, unique, needs, then there's growth out there, right? And you don't have to be vanilla about what you create, and when you speak authentically to that diversity, again, there's growth, there's interest from consumers.
Right, it's good for business.
Yes.
Like, let's just be real, it's good for business. It's more people buying more product. But I also find, like something you touched on earlier, at all of our companies, we have a couple different customers. You have your customer, the obvious one. You have your employees, which are your customer. You have society as a whole, and then a lot of us probably have like financial institutions that are judging us and looking at spreadsheets, and they have to look good. And for the employee base, we do find that obviously more and more people care about us sort of representing things in the way that we want, and that's how you get good talent. So not only do you grow your bottom line, but it actually attracts good talent. And so all the stats sort of show that, especially with, frankly, what's interesting on the platform is, maybe not so interesting, but a lot of younger employees do care about this, frankly, broad stroke, more than older employees. Mm-hmm. Like we, last year when they overturned Roe v. Wade, we went out to the US community and sort of said, how do you want brands to address this issue? And almost down the middle from an age group, older people were like, just sell me toothpaste. I don't really want to know your political views. But all the younger people, millennials on down, were like, I'm not touching your toothpaste if it doesn't actually align with my ethos. Mm-hmm. And so it was really, but again, more and more of those millennials are growing up and making more money and becoming more customers. So there are brands like Fenty, et cetera, so you work with all of these brands and you see who does it well and who doesn't, sort of inside of your partners. What do you think the secret is to the Fentys of the world? How are they getting it right?
I think it comes down to authenticity. It's when you establish a purpose and you establish kind of your point of view, is making sure that it is not just, you're just, I don't even know what the term would be, but like in the purpose space, but it's like greenwashing if you were doing it in the sustainability space, right? Like you need to speak authentically to it. What I think like a Fenty and a Milk and other brands that do it is they were founded on that premise, and then they lean really hard into it. For us as BlueMercury, we're defining it for the first time, and what we're doing is we're going really slowly, because we're like, and as a marketer, I'm like, I am not going to go out there with a message saying something really bold when in this space of purpose and in D&I and inclusivity, if I can't back it up, because we're just gonna get trash. Like people see through it nowadays, and so what I think the brands that are doing it well are the ones that can speak authentically, walk the walk, talk the talk. And for those like BlueMercury, where we haven't done that, it's, hey, we gotta take baby steps. And we've talked a little bit about the journey today, and I honestly, my point of view is we are all on a journey, as individuals, as companies, and some are later, and we've heard from those that are later today, and there are some that are earlier. I'm on the earlier, like BlueMercury's on the earlier side of the spectrum. What's actually most important is that you recognize you're on a journey, and you are willing to admit you're on a journey, and then you're just trying to do better every day. And so that's kind of how we are approaching it as we start moving forward in that space.
Yeah. We saw that 4 in 10 want brands like yours and everyone else's to actually walk the walk through their product. So not just their marketing, which is kind of what you're saying. It's like, it's gotta be in the product, right? Fenty has how many different colors of base coat, you know what I mean? It's like, it's literally in the product, not just the marketing. Which is hard to do, and it's hard to do in a scalable way. So it's fair to sort of say, it's not like, just do it. Not a brand. And so, talking about BlueMercury for a minute, so you talked about sort of where you are in the journey and all the research you did to get to the point you are now, very service-oriented, really about you. Now where are you going to take it? How are you going to take it to that next level?
There's a lot we're trying to figure out right now, to be honest. We're looking at, you know, we just recently launched a new proprietary brand called Cerulean 6 Degrees, which is a bath and body brand. And it's founded, you know, it has a lot of great elements into the brand of like vegan, gluten-free, etc., like how the product is made, etc. But as we think of where we want to grow as a brand and move forward, we're working hard to figure out what's authentic to us. So like, as I think about a CSR strategy, what's gonna be our, not just philanthropic, but where we wanna make impact. We're talking a lot with, you know, Macy's and our family of brands about, you know, what their advice, who've been doing it for a long time. How do you, like, what could you teach us? And when we do that, we're looking at, we have to do something that feels like that we all as a company believe in, right? Like, it's very easy, and I'll use this as an example. It's very easy when we say to be the ultimate specialist in the beauty of you, like, oh, it's all about personalization, it's about seeing people. That's identity. So our whole CSR strategy should easily be identity. Yes, but what if we've never talked about it to our employees? What if we've never talked about identity and really prioritized, you know, seeing yourself, like being your authentic self? Now, I'm not saying we don't believe it as people, it's just we haven't institutionalized that purpose. So we're like, I can't come out with a CSR strategy that's about, you know, that idea, because no one's gonna believe it, because there's no proof within our own team.
Coming out of left field internally and be like, oh, okay.
And so what we're doing a lot of work is really trying to look at what are the different things, those that we could lean into. How does it resonate with our team? What is it, things that our team believes in, and that we can then help institutionalize it more, so that when we do say publicly we're going to lean into X, it's, oh yeah, that makes sense. And guess what? All the employees will talk about it. Maybe hopefully on Glassdoor. So, you know, like, that's the type of thing. So, yeah, exactly.
I have a couple more questions for you. I don't know how we are doing the time, but does anyone want to poach the witness? Is that what they say? 5 minutes? Okay. So let's quickly talk about how you are, let's just talk about like just marketing for marketing's sake for a minute, and how are you getting people to discover, like, so this new brand, how are you getting word out? How are you getting people to discover it?
It's really hard.
I think expensive.
It's really expensive. It's really hard, especially in the beauty space. Social media has democratized beauty, right? I mean, there is endless amounts of beauty content out in the world now. And so you when we look at it, right, the traditional means of building awareness and, you know, trying to drive consideration and all those types of things, just they exist, but they exist almost in micro versions out there, right? You have to think about,
very fragmented.
It's very fragmented. So a lot of it is about how do you show up in lots of different places at the same time. But, you know, then we were talking about this earlier during a break, but it's just like, well, then you're doing a lot of little things that make a little impact, hoping that it's the sum of the parts that you know, or you're like, or you might have your P&L owner or your CEO saying like, well, you just need to do something and make it go viral. I'm like, the moment you say you want something to go viral, it's never gonna go viral. Like, you just.
Or the better one is like, well, my 13-year-old daughter says to do X, Y, Z. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to influence the daughter.
Exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it's a challenge. I think the way we're approaching it as we bring in new brands and we're trying to redefine ourselves and kind of define our future is, again, how do we look at a mix of things, some things that may be seemingly a little bit more traditional that will get a lot more eyeballs, but then how do we augment that with a lot of smaller things in social, you know, with content creators, with TikTok, you know, how do we partner with our brands in a different way to break through in a unique way? And then where I think, you know, what we're seeing from a behavior standpoint is, and I think post-pandemic, I feel like every time I talk to people about this, they agree, which is it takes a lot for us to get out of our house now to go shopping. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be go shopping just for fun and be like, I'm just going to go out there, or routine errands. I'm just going to run some errands. But now that hurdle to be like, oh crap, do I really want to go out and do that? Like, do I really need to go to the store? Oh, I'll just order it. Like, I'll order it. And I think what you're finding is that actually in the hurdle to get out and do something comes from now wanting a better experience. In like, oh, now I'm getting something more out of it. And so that's one of the things. Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're talking about is one of the things that we've always really done that's done really well for us in our stores is having like events where we work with a brand and they bring in their specialist of fragrance, and then they'll do some sort of event, and you know that you can come in and get a consultation, or we'll do a founder showing up in a store and stuff like that. Those things actually make it worth it to now be like, oh yeah, that's worth it for me to get out of my seat and, you know, not look at TikTok for like endless hours.
I checked this stat, and fair, this is a global stat for all demos, all creeds, colors, races. 63% of the earth would rather shop online.
Wow.
I mean, so it definitely has tilted more to online, and so you're right. So, but they say an experience inside. Also, sort of survey has shown that before the pandemic, the way a lot of retailers would, and you could probably confirm or deny, a lot of retailers would say everything, all of our inventory goes in store, sampling of inventory online, and the pandemic flipped that. Mm-hmm. So now if you're looking for like the full suite of inventory that, let's say, Target has to offer, you go online. And if you're looking for a subset of it, but more of an experience, you go into the store. And so it's also about, you know, how comprehensive, you know, how many pair of 7.5 black flats are you looking for here? Yeah. A curated experience, or do you want all 300 that I've got at Zappos? Yeah. You know, so it's really, it is interesting. Anything else you want to know about how to contour? Because, I mean, clearly Betsen can teach us that one. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really helpful. Really good.